So today, we're gonna take lumpy old cottage cheese and turn it into the creamiest, dreamiest Alfredo sauce that ever existed. And I'm talking super high protein, but also delicious. And it takes 5 minutes, so you have no excuse not to make it. Cottage cheese Alfredo obviously starts with cottage cheese. Highly recommend that you get a full fat or a whole milk cottage cheese. So this is usually 4% milk fat, and also a small curd cottage cheese because you want it to blend pretty smoothly into the sauce. So we're just gonna add a bunch of stuff into a blender and get the sauce going. You start with about a cup of cottage cheese. I have a half a cup here. I know it looks weird, but trust me, it will pull through. And to that, we're gonna add a full cup of whole milk, and then we're gonna add a tablespoon of cornstarch because that's actually important for the sauce to come together and emulsify. And then we're gonna grate about a half a cup of Parmesan. And I usually recommend that you grate the Parmesan versus buying pre-shredded Parmesan because any cheese really, when it's pre-shredded, tends to have some kind of a starch, usually arrowroot or potato starch in it, so that it doesn't clump together when it's in the bag. And when you add that into a sauce, for instance, it becomes a lot more clumpy. So grate the cheese if you can. And I like to use a small side of my box grater for this so that the cheese is much smaller and it melts much nicer. And you'll need about a half a cup of Parmesan, but measure this with your heart. I think that's about half a cup. So I'm just gonna assume that it is, and we can always add more later. I wanna grab all of this straight into the blender. I won't judge if you eat the rest of the Parmesan that fell on the counter. It's me, I'm talking to myself. And then a little crack of fresh black pepper, just a tiny bit of garlic powder to give it a little more flavor. And now we're just gonna blend all of this up. I know it looks like a smoothie, but trust me, it will work its Alfredo magic. That is a creamy sauce right there. And this sauce will thicken further when it goes on the stove, so don't worry about it right now. We're gonna set this aside until we make the rest of the pasta. Add the cottage cheese mixture in. Make sure you keep this on low heat. You don't want the mixture to curdle. Add some dried basil, a tiny pinch of paprika. You can also use red pepper flakes and some oregano. If you have Italian seasoning handy, you can also use that. Mix well and allow the mixture to reduce on low heat. As you can see, it has started to thicken up already. Add the pasta, toss to coat. It will reduce over time. Just give it a few more minutes. Resist the urge to turn up the heat. Will make the cottage cheese curdle and will not taste like Alfredo. Awesome. Some parsley and some cheese. Just a tiny bit. Let's put it to the taste test. Mmm. Mmm. Honestly, I could serve this in a party and no one would know it had cottage cheese in it. 10 on 10.